Okay. Now, letting them in. Okay. Welcome, everyone. Good to see you all
Welcome.
today.
Hey.
Yeah. Great. As always.
Everybody's here. My God, look at that.
Yeah. Lots of great folks. Hi, Carl Lieberman. Hi, Dave Skolnick. Hi, Nancy Salmon. Donna Berg.
Yeah.
I'm like picking out people's names that I recognize, but now it's like everybody at this point.
Yeah.
I
At
don't
this
know.
point,
I haven't. Yeah.
all the
It's kind of
names.
cool. Yeah.
This is
Very nice.
this is just an extension of the beauty of the various forums on the internet.
Right.
One step further, because you can actually see people. And in another year, Zoom or something like it will have HD audio available, and we can start doing, real classes where you really hear stuff on here, which is exciting, huh?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, pretty close.
That's
Pretty close.
pretty close. Pretty close.
Shall I give a little introduction here and then we'll get started?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So first off, just remind you all, Piano Tech Radio Hour is being brought to you by Piano Technicians Masterclasses, an online educational resource that offers you cutting-edge instruction from piano industry masters without leaving your home. You can find out more at www.pianotechniciansmasterclass.com. And of course, in the meanwhile, before we can even get that audio through Zoom, you can check out our masterclass library where we have created some wonderful content that has some excellent audio, particularly I think of David's masterclass on tuning, which we got capture some really wonderful audio of that. Probably the best audio recording of a tuning that's out there. I mean, they've got recordings from the past, but I don't know whether they were able to get them that good. So check that out.
Nowhere near. Nowhere near.
Nowhere near. I'll also just remind you all that you can register for the convention that's coming up in December. Later on in the chat, we'll put we're doing the Cyber Weekend thing. So over the weekend and on Monday, there'll be some specials, which I think will be pretty cool for you. And you can, just a summary, you can either get a discount, just a general discount over the weekend, or if you want to get a 10% discount, a little bit smaller discount on Monday, you can add one of our lectures from our library for free. And you could choose David Anderson's tuning concert if you want, or anything else. And finally, just a little bit of housekeeping. We have two sponsors for our convention now, and I just thought it'd be great to give them a shout out. I put a link to each of those sponsors in the chat. We have Piano Buyer, a really wonderful resource. We've had a guest from Piano Buyer on the show before, and Veritune, the tuning app from Dave Carpenter out here in Chicago, in my neck of the woods. So thanks to them, and click on those links in the chat just to go update yourself on what they're up to. We really appreciate them. All right. David, shall I tell them what I thought would be cool to talk about today, and we'll see if we go there?
Yeah, but before we do that, let's go back to the convention and just name some of the. Well, first of all, I'll talk about my class. The big, hot, sexy kind of thing in tuning over the past, let's say, 3 years or 4 years, has been pure 12s tuning. Everybody, it's kind of like the Valhalla of tuning. Oh, it's a pure 12s tuning. Oh my God. Well, that's because it is. It's a highly idealized oral tuning that these super, super smart machines are trying to replicate and doing a pretty damn good job. Pretty darn good job. I proactively apologize for my profanity and have been called on it more than once. So I'm sorry. The smart machines do a darn good job at replicating a pure 12's tuning. Um, and that's because it's simple. So I'm going to simply show how to do a pure 12's tuning in this class at the first virtual piano technology conference in the history of the universe. And
Yeah, looking
then
forward to that.
name the other participants, Mr. J.
So what I really like about this time is that, there's drawbacks to all the quarantine and, safety. We have to all be careful going out there, but there's some interesting advantages. And one of those is we're being able to get a hold of some of these instructors that I've talked to for years and asked if they could participate in things. They say they're busy, things are going on, they're not sure. So Debbie Sear is one of those instructors. She's been instructing with North Bennett Street for many years. She does rebuilding and many other wonderful things. And we actually did a survey just to make sure we picked the right class topic. I put out a survey to you folks, and thank you for those that participated. And we decided that she's going to talk about tearing down a grand for rebuilding. So that had, out of 3 topics that
Hey.
had 50% of the votes, I think we had maybe like 40 or 50 people vote. So I think it's a pretty solid decision. Yeah, so we've got Debbie. That's exciting because she's new. She's never done one of these online classes with us before.
Wow.
Another person that is new and exciting to me is Alex Kirsten from Steingraber and Sohn. This is also a first for us, bringing in someone from overseas to beam in a class. And that's kind of my initial excitement about this whole project in the first place. We've been doing it sort of the reverse, where people that I can get in touch with from the United States are teaching people that are all the way across the other side of the globe. But this will be the first time we kind of do the reverse. We get some piano expert from Germany coming in and giving us some great knowledge from his side of the big body of water. and
So
he's going
let
to be
me.
teaching about concert prep and part of his presentation, I don't think it's a huge part, but it was intriguing to hear about. He was going to talk about voicing from the sheep to the concert hall. He's going to talk about felts, going all the way from sourcing the felt to actually putting it on the hammers and prepping it for a concert. So really excited about that. And he is too. That's another piece that I'm really just really feeling good about, is that he is extremely excited to do this presentation. And I know that's a good sign whenever we have presenters like you, David, that they're not shy, they're really excited, they want to share, they want to participate, they want to interact, then it usually comes out quite well. So I won't go on about all the others, but
Let
there's
me just
many
extend
others.
the legend of Alex. Let me just extend the legend of Alex Kirsten. This guy is. I've worked beside dozens of, well, at least a dozen of the men and women that are considered to be pretty much at the top of the food chain in our world of piano technology. Alex Kirsten is among the top 3, let's say. He started out as an apprentice, the lowest sweeping up kind of guy in the little Steingraber factory, which is a little castle in northern Germany, when he was either 15 or 16. And now he went all the way up to schooling at the Hogwarts of European piano technology. I can't remember the name of the school. Came back, worked in the factory, became their concert technician for the factory and showroom, and basically all over Europe. I first met him because I was a Steingraber dealer from 2005 to 2009 and spent many hours working beside him and observing his work. And he's an amazing piano technician, and he's fluent English speaker, and he's a fabulous cat. And you can learn a ton from this guy. This guy is the real deal. The real deal. It's a 3 jillion times the piano technician I am. I'll tell you that. Just, I'm in awe of this guy. So, sorry.
Great.
I
No, thank you.
my video. Just, it's a real treat to get to know Alex through this Zoom event and his class. I wish his class was 6 hours long.
Yeah, this opens up the door for us to have him back, hopefully, too. So that's also exciting.
Yeah, baby.
Shall we transition here, David?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, here's the idea I had folks to ask David about today. You're totally welcome to steer us in a totally different direction. Make sure you put questions in the chat, so on and so forth. But I've been fascinated with how David can put together his rebuilding and resale shop for fine pianos. You know, he's built a really wonderful high-end clientele. He's really known for producing excellent quality instruments, locating excellent quality instruments, and really doing the best that you can with them. And I know just from interacting with him, I'm not sure everybody else is aware, it's a complicated process, meaning there's multiple people involved. You know, he has a special relationship with Dale Irwin, who might do soundboards for him. And there might be other people involved in the process. I don't really know. And I just wanted to ask him kind of dive into what is it like to be someone who, as we came up with an analogy before the show, it's kind of like that person that soups up a car, you know, and they're in charge of the process, but they might need a whole team of people in order to get that together. So I guess my first question is, what kind of team does it typically take? Are there different size teams depending on the piano?
Well, this is a fascinating topic. And it starts by saying that most of us, I'll just speak personally, I can't do everything that rebuilding a piano requires well by myself. And I can't do it at all now at this point in my life. There's many things I can't do because of my physical challenges. So a long time ago, it was necessary for me to involve other people in my restoration and rebuilding process. So I've loved the idea of teams of restorers or rebuilders and used it and prospered under it for a long time, quarter century. And what it means is that you get the best person, both in terms of dealing with them as human beings and honest, golden rule living people, and artisan craftsmanship, like a dedication to quality, right? Aren't those the two things you want? Well, they're the two things I want. So I've developed a team in my business of people that are men and women that I have grown to love and trust and have affection for, and are at the top of the food chain in terms of the quality of their craft, of how they work on pianos in the specific way that they do. And I end up being the initiator, the bringer of the client, the first diagnostician. I'm basically the producer of the restoration event. Our shop, myself and Nick Morello, do that final, you could say 10 or 15% of taking, or 20%, take the raw action and make it a concert and performance machine. Does that make sense when I say that? It's that last refining all the weights, all the front weights, all the strike weights, the refining the touch of the action, and then doing a complete action regulation, like very specific and precise, like a new Shigeru Kawai would be, or a new Steingrave, or a new Fazioli, right? That's the level, that's the world-class level. So that's the level we aspire to. Took us a while to get there, I'll tell you. It really began to sink into me that you can do this on a one-off basis when I started playing Ravenscroft's pianos, what, 10 years ago or 12 years ago, whenever they really, my God, they're just like the greatest pianos in the world. Their actions feel the same as, you know, Fazioli's, as the best Bosendorfers. My God, you can actually do this. Because I knew it was him and one other dude, his action maker and him, that were making these actions feel so good. It's like, wow. It's like the first time I ever played a piano that Richard Davenport had rebuilt in the late 80s or early 90s. It was a revelation. You can really restore a piano and make it feel like a tier 1 new piano if you have the chops. So
you get a minute, I got a question from the chat.
Go ahead.
So Dave Skolnick said, and he can clarify this a little bit too, or we can dive into what it means, but he said, so then, what are the preliminary steps and how are they handled? And he says the 80%. So I'm guessing he means kind of what are the really primary factors that make this possible, and especially the ones early on, to put a team together and have the piano happen.
Putting a team together means being in serious relationship with the artisans, with the piano artisans in your neighborhood, in your whatever 50-mile radius, whatever it is, who are really good, not only really good at whatever it is. Maybe you don't do pin blocks and boards and back ends in your shop. Maybe you don't do it at all. Find the people in your area that are the best. You know them, but you got to get a relationship with them, and you got to share the work, right? You got to have the work and diagnose the work and produce the work and be responsible for the work, and then hand the jobs that you're not going to do off to those shops that do that work all the time, and they do it at a very high level. Stringing, for instance, or damper systems, for instance. you know, refinishing, you know. We have, I have 6 or 8 people that I use all the time, entities, shops that I use all the time for different sections of the piano. I'm right there. We are right there. My partner Nick Morello and I are right there, observing and inputting every step and kind of producing and creating the vision of how this piano is going to be rebuilt, what it needs. That's always subject to a bit of revision when we get down into the piano. There may be anomalies way down in there, and that's always reflected contractually. You'd better be covering yourself in your restoration agreement about uh, uh, uncovered anomalies when you get down into the heart of the piano. Um, you have to have a really clear sense of what the piano, and this is very like what the piano needs. Absolutely can't function without a, a, a rebuild or a replacement part. Or whether you can, for an economic reason, because of the client's financial position, they can't. For instance, piano's on the edge. It's 50 years old, needs new parts, needs new strings, needs new damper felts, may need, depending on the weather and everything, may need a bridge cap, certainly new A-graphs, just kind of a complete back end, not a new soundboard. The board is fine, has sustain, and I'm sure, I hope you all know how to check sustain. If you're not clear, you can check down bearing with various methods. But the main check I have now, after my years, is to pluck the strings in the 5th and 6th and 7th octaves and see what the pluck tells me. And it'll tell me the intensity and sustain of that note.
Just going to interrupt real quick. Careful with the mic fidgeting. We're getting a little mic noise.
Sorry.
No problem.
Okay. Thank you. I really say you diagnose the piano and the pin block, everything needs to be rebuilt, but the pin block is still their 1/0 pins, and they've got at least 100 or so pounds of torque. They've got plenty of torque. Do you change the pin block just because you're changing everything else? If it's a complete restoration, yes, you do. It's, how much is it? It's not that much more. A couple of grand max. With somebody who's rebuilding their whole piano and money is not really an object, you do it as a matter of course. For somebody who's just saved up for years to have their piano restored, and you know that it's in a stable environment like Southern California, and you know they're controlling the humidity and the piano is stable, you can leave that pin block because it's $2,000 or whatever it is, whatever you charge for a new pin block and putting it in and doing that whole thing. You have to have that discernment. They're trusting you. You're the expert. You're the doctor. And you run into clients that go on Piano World and have read Larry Fine's various publications, and they think they know something. And as so many of my great mentors have said before me, they know just enough to be dangerous. And you have to be the one. And you can't shirk that responsibility. And you have to also be a great guy, a great person, and a client serving person. You have to be the leader and the servant. Guess what? Big challenge. That's kind of the heart of success of any kind of high-end piano work. Quote, selling, unquote, any like a day of service, 2 days of service, a partial restoration or a complete restoration. It's being a leader, telling them what this piano needs, and being the leader of your business and your craft, and being a servant, serving them to get this piano in a place that will please them and inspire them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, I'm getting, and I also want to get some feedback too from folks. Um, if this is working for you, if this is a good topic, let us know. Like if you're enjoying this, let us know. If you want to switch it or whatever, that's great. I'm really getting into it. I'm taking notes here. But that's just me. So you're out there in the audience. Let us know the direction you want to go in.
Well, give us a thumbs up if we're good for
Yeah,
you
for
right
sure.
now. We're really I'm community oriented. You good? Should I keep going?
I got a thumbs up
Yes.
from Kevin Clem. All right,
Okay.
sounds good. um, I want to ask you. Like, what is a typical scenario, or is there a typical scenario? I'm imagining from what you've been talking about, it's
Yep.
that you have a client that you already know, or one that has been referred to you who has a piano, or
That's
is
right.
maybe looking for a piano. Which is more common? They already
Maybe
have
it's
a piano and they
piano,
want you
but
to do it.
yeah, that's 20% of the time. 80% of the time is someone who has a piano. In my practice, someone that has a piano, perhaps someone that I've known for a long time, that I've maintained this piano for a while. That's often the case. All right, it's time now. And that's, again, partly this paradox of leadership and servitude that I'm talking about. You have to tell your client, you know, well in advance, look, something's going to come up with your piano in the next 5 years, or the next 10 years or something. You're going to need some restoration. You're going to need some new parts. It's that time. Piano's 65 years old. It's got thousands of hours of use. You can see the use on the strike points of the hammers. You can just kind of feel it. It's a little wobbly. It needs some work other than tuning. So heads up, you know. Then there's people that, are looking to get their piano rebuilt. A lot of people that call me are kids that adults from 30s to 60s that played piano when they were a kid, may still have their family piano or have a piano that they've had for a while, and now they want to get back. They're just their brain is on their piano, and they want to trick their piano out a little bit and start to play it. And that's a good client for me, because they've looked around, they've talked to maybe other shops, they've looked on the internet, they've seen my website, which is pretty impressive actually for a private company's website. and they've called me. And there's from the beginning, because one of my gifts and a craft that I practice is when I'm on the phone with a possible client, with somebody that called me to maybe have us do some work for them, I can shift my attention, my awareness from whatever it was on right before the call started. Maybe I was arguing with somebody, or maybe I was in some completely other headspace. I have taught myself how to shift into this a grateful, open place to be with this person, because that's what people need and want. They want you to be open. They want you to be happy to talk to them. And that's how I am when I talk to these people. And that's a huge benefit to me and why I get a lot of work, because people feel comfortable talking to me. It's a huge part of this business. And I really want to express that with anything. So then we go through, and I never make any kind of money statements ever until I see the piano. That's a hard and fast. Don't give them ranges. Don't do anything like that. Say, I can't say anything until I put my hands and my eyes and my ears on the piano. And if you trust me enough to let me come into your house and do that and tell you what I feel, that's great. And then you do. You go in there. And I usually bring Nick Morello, my partner, with me, because, as somebody said to me a long time ago, in certain things, 1 and 1 doesn't make 2, it makes 11. You know, 2 ears are way more than twice as good as 1. Two artisan sensibilities, I find. So we go in, and I mean, I did it myself for decades. I like to do it with another, intelligent craftsperson. And you very quickly see what's wrong with the piano, what it needs. And I hope that whoever the check writer is, whoever the owner of the piano is right there. So you can show and tell. You can be artisans, and this person will see, wow, these guys really know what they're doing.
Quick
And you
question
can
about the
tell them.
process of evaluating.
Yep.
Is it I'm getting the sense that it isn't, but do you have like almost like a checklist or protocol you go through, or is it just unique to each piano? You look it over and you kind of go into what seems. Do you take notes while you're doing that? Do you guys hold this stuff in your memory? How complicated is it to kind of do the diagnostic?
What I do there's I don't look at a list because I've kind of embodied it. But there's all these points that you look at, just like at a car. Just like when a master mechanic rolls up to a car on one of these car shows and starts looking at it. They're not working off a checklist. They know the different parts of a car that need to be looked at for restoration or replacement or rebuilding or whatever. Same with me. I know. And it's, everything: board, bridges, strings, pins, pin block, that, 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 that. Onto the action, damper system, pedal system. You know, are the legs shaking around? Do the legs need new fittings? You know, anything separated under the piano? Any of the ribs separated? Anything separated? Anything rattling? Anything? You know, action parts, where, you know, if you've seen 50 pianos, you know what parts look like when they're old and a bit dried out. They just have a different look, different smell, different feel. You can tell, wow, these are old parts. And you can make them last. We all have and do. You can make them last. You can treat them with, you know, Protec and kind of baby them through, and repin, you know, but eventually things have to be replaced. And that's it's just like a car or a washing machine. A piano is a machine, and you need to really bring that to your clients. It's a machine that needs maintenance. And I am the guy, man or woman, that will maintain this elegant machine for you. No problem. And I can restore it. So then you just develop friendships and business collegial relationships with the people in your area that I know that if you don't string, if you don't have a rebuilding shop, if you have just a little space in your house or in your basement where you bring actions and rework stuff, that's fantastic. God bless you. And you're not motivated to have a bigger shop or more, or, God bless you. You're just like me. I have never ever for 1 second wanted a big shop. That's not where I want to. It's not me. I want to be out at pianos. I want to have a little space. And then, you know, as I got older and wiser, I just started allying myself with men and women in the community that are piano artisans that do love to have a shop and do love to do this heavy lifting stuff that I had no interest in.
I'm going to interrupt you real quick. Just to let people know that are watching on Facebook and YouTube. We're going to sign off with a live stream. We'll still remain here on Zoom. If you want to join, there's a link in the chat. And then I have a question for you about the details kind of building those relationships. Let me just sign us off real quick. I'll be right back. Or actually, the question is, does a relationship come first? Like, do you sort of get to know them first, or does a relationship start because you say, hey, I want you to work on this job, and then that's how the relationship begins?
In many times, that's how the relationship begins.